And the last thing I want to say in regards to nutrition before we go on to the last component here is that there is a difference between eating for aesthetics and eating for performance. I think I've talked about this in a lot of my other videos, but starting strength is a performance program. You're trying to get stronger, right? And whereas a lot of people, when they are new to the gym, they have the dual goal of they want to build some muscle, but they also want to lose some body fat. And if you are above 20% body fat, for a guy, it is very possible to both shed the body fat and build muscle at the same time. What's up, guys? Aaron Kubitz, personal trainer, functional aesthetics EC, helping average guys build muscle, shed fat, and perform better in their lives inside and outside the gym. Today's video, I'm going to be talking about Mark Rippetoe's starting strength program. This will be the third in this series of strength program reviews I'm doing. Previously, I did a review on full body workout programs. After that, I did a review of the ever popular push-pull legs program. So if you want to check those out, go back and check those out on my channel as well. But today, we're going to be talking about starting strength. So before we get into the meat and potatoes of the video today, if you're new to the channel, this channel is all about program design for either building muscle and strength, improving athletic performance, shedding body fat, so the details on nutrition around building muscle, improving performance, or shedding your body fat, as well as the programs that go along with those things, and then also how to help you prevent getting injured in the process. And then if you do get injured, what are some strategies to help you work around those injuries so that you can get back into lifting and into your exercise routine as quickly as possible. If any of those things sound interesting to you and you'd like to hear more about those and you think that you could benefit from that kind of information, then please consider subscribing to the channel by hitting the button in the lower right hand corner of the screen. And without further ado, we will get into the video. So today's video is going to be broken down into three parts. We're going to be talking about what is hybrid strength, or not hybrid strength, but starting strength. How does the program look? What is the general format for the program? We're going to be talking about the benefits of that program, and we're going to also be talking about some drawbacks and potential best use scenarios for using the hybrid or the starting strength program. Okay, so first off, let's start by talking about what is hybrid strength or starting strength. How do you perform starting strength? So starting strength is, and this is actually one of the benefits of it, it's very nuts and bolts. You're going to have three primary exercises, actually four exercises, but two of them you're going to rotate out from week to week, the relative volume of them. So you're going to be training 3 days a week. You're going to be doing your squat, deadlift, bench press, and overhead press. So just four exercises. Now in later iterations and more advanced iterations of starting strength, you're also going to add chin-ups into the mix. But at the beginning, you're just doing squats, deadlifts, bench press, overhead press. So that's one of the benefits right there. You're doing compound movements, the most bang for your buck. So they're the most efficient at helping you develop overall full body strength. Okay, so the repetitions after you build up to your working load, it's going to be 3 sets of 5 repetitions. Now the exception to this is that with the deadlift, you are on 2 days. So both squats and deadlifts, you're doing 3 days a week. Okay, so it's a lot of frequency for these exercises, and this is why beginners can advance very fast in their strength, because you're hitting those muscles, you're training at a very high frequency, and a beginner is not lifting so much weight that they're going to need a lot of time to recover in between. So on one of those 3 days, though, that you're doing the deadlift, you're only going to do 1 set of 5 reps. Whereas with the squat, you're doing 3 sets of 5 every single time that you go in there and you do your workout. When it comes to the bench press and the overhead press, and this is one of the things that I like about the program, is that it alternates the frequency and the volume by default between bench press and overhead press from week to week. So in week 1, for example, maybe you're doing the bench press on Monday, and then on Wednesday you're doing overhead press, and then Friday you're doing bench press again. And then in the next week you're doing overhead press on Monday, bench press on Wednesday, and overhead press on Friday. So you're on the first week you're getting 2 days of bench press, in only 1 day of overhead press, and the second week it flips that, it inverts that, and you're almost getting a natural sort of deload there. So you're pushing, you're doing up in the frequency, but then in the following week it decreases that frequency down so that you can now maximize another lift and allow the other one to rest a little bit. So some of the pros here right off the bat for the starting strength program is that it is very time efficient. So if you're somebody who doesn't have a lot of time to train and a lot of time to spend at the gym, perhaps you're an athlete and you're using the strength training as part of your overall conditioning program, and you're not like a bodybuilder or a power lifter, and the weightlifting is part of the rest of your athletic training, right? Then perhaps this could be good for you. It could also be good for a guy who has a very busy schedule. He doesn't have a lot of time to spend at the gym, perhaps not enough time to do more bodybuilding type splits and things like that. And so because you only have those 4 exercises that you're using, it also allows you to progress very rapidly in them because that's all you're doing. And it also allows you to develop movement proficiency and perfect your technique, as long as you are focusing on that when you're doing that, and you're not just trying to load up the bar and do as much weight as you can. As long as you are focusing on your technique, the high frequency of doing that these 4 exercises, and just those 4 exercises, is going to allow you to really perfect your form and get really good at doing those exercises over time. Lastly, for a beginner, the starting strength program uses a linear periodization progression, right? So every single workout, you're adding more weight to the bar. And for a beginner, you're going to be able to progress very rapidly doing that because it's a very novel stimulus. Now, for more advanced lifters, even intermediate lifters, it's not going to be the optimal way to train, simply just because you're not going to be able to add more weight to the bar every time. You might have to sit at one weight for a while and just really get good at mastering handling that weight before you try to go and progress to the next level. But as a beginner, this high level of frequency and just adding more weight to the bar over time is going to work very well in most cases for most people. All right, so we've covered the benefits of starting strength. Now let's get into the first detriment of starting strength, the first downside, the first con of starting strength. The most obvious one is that there is not sufficient hypertrophy or sufficient volume for hypertrophy. Now granted, if you've never lifted a weight in your life and you go and you do this program, you're going to build some muscle just by virtue of the fact that you are completely new, it's completely novel stimulus, right? But for building muscle size, the key driver is volume. And since this program only has 4 exercises and you're doing just 3 sets of 5 reps, the overall volume of the program is going to be relatively low. So in my experience, guys who have the best strength gains are the guys who start out with a foundation of muscular endurance first, then they do a little bit of hypertrophy work or basic bodybuilding before getting into their first dedicated strength program. And if you look at the typical training that they will do for young athletes starting out, usually they're starting out with their sets in the 15 repetition range. This is going to allow you to build up that metabolic efficiency, movement proficiency, and also help to strengthen your tendons and ligaments so that when you do start lifting heavier poundages, you're going to have very strong, resilient tendons to be able to handle that. So what I generally recommend for people who are absolutely new to strength training is to do 2 to 3 full body workouts per week. In fact, training your entire body twice a week could be all you need for a beginner, right? For at least the first couple of months while you're training, because you're still getting used to how to do the exercises, you're building up your endurance, you're building up your work capacity, your body's adapting to this new level of stress. So maybe you're starting out with 8 to 12 repetitions for all your big compound lifts. You're doing 10 to 15 repetitions for your multi-joint lifts, so things like bent over rows, things like that. And then for your isolation movements, maybe you're doing 10 to 15 repetitions, so biceps curls, tricep extensions, those kind of things. And then you're progressively adding weight onto all those movements every single week and trying to maintain those same repetitions. And then obviously over time, you are going to hit a point where you're not able to hit the same reps with the heavier weight, and so that's when you start getting into this lower repetition training. And so that's why in my online program, Hybrid Strength 101, we progress guys from doing the muscular endurance work to the basic bodybuilding work, and then we get into the dedicated strength and power work, ultimately preparing them to do the more speed, explosive, athletic style of training. So there are two other drawbacks to the starting strength program. One of them is that you might get fat doing this program, or if you are already have a lot of weight that you would like to lose, which is often the case when people are first getting into strength training. The starting strength program, due to it's high intensity but low volume, it's not going to expend a lot of energy, but your appetite may actually go up. And in fact, Mark Rippetoe advises that you eat between 3,000 and 5,000 calories per day, depending on how big your body is. So 3,000 calories would be like if you're, 180-pound guy or something like that. And if you're, up in the 200-plus pound range, then you would be eating that 5,000 calories a day. So these are actually quite high amounts of calories, considering like if it's a starting strength program. Maybe if you are a more advanced guy and you've built a lot of muscle, then you're going to need a lot of calories and stuff. But eating that amount of calories could in fact lead to a lot of excess body weight, especially if you haven't established a foundational diet first. And that's another one of the things that I help the guys inside of my online program, Hybrid Strength 101, do. We help to not just give you a basic, balanced diet, macronutrient split, but actually help to put you in a category that's specific for your body type based upon a series of questionnaires that we give you. And then we also teach you how to learn to be able to intuitively eat based upon the signals that your body's giving you of whether you're eating too many carbohydrates, too much fat and protein, depending on your body type. And the last thing I want to say in regards to nutrition before we go on to the last component here is that there is a difference between eating for aesthetics and eating for performance. I think I've talked about this in a lot of my other videos, but starting strength is a performance program. You're trying to get stronger, right? And whereas a lot of people, when they are new to the gym, they have the dual goal of they want to build some muscle, but they also want to lose some body fat. And if you are above 20% body fat for a guy, it is very, very possible to both shed the body fat and build muscle at the same time. If you're getting like below 10% body fat, it's going to be very difficult for you to both, or if you're at 10% body fat, it's going to be very difficult for you to both lose fat and also be building muscle at the same time. And so you have to be very clear on what am I trying to do here when I'm coming to the gym, and make sure that your diet matches what you're trying to accomplish. All right, so the last drawback for the starting strength program would be that there's such a high frequency of lower body compound movements. You're doing deadlift and squat 3 times a week. That is a lot of frequency, and so if you are a little bit of an older lifter and you already have some joint issues and stuff like that, perhaps doing that amount of squatting and deadlifting could further exacerbate the problems that you're having. And the other thing is that the deadlift and the squat also use similar muscles, and the deadlift heavily uses the posterior chain, especially the back. And so then if you're going and doing squats like right after that, or you're doing squats, these 3 days a week with your back potentially fatigued doing that, then you're not going to be able to, it's not going to be able to provide that stability function that your back, your core, and everything is designed to do. Now, the one way you could potentially get around this is that with starting strength, the volume is not super high, right? It's not like you're completely trashing yourself every single workout, although you are trying to increase that weight. So I don't know, maybe you are, maybe you aren't. I think, you know, because you are hitting it more frequently, but maybe not as much volume, perhaps you can get away with it. But on the other end, you are trying to increase the amount of weight that you're lifting in every single workout for the first, you know, couple of weeks, couple of months of this program. So that's, for me, the downside of the program, is that there's just a lot of stress on the knees because you're hitting those movements over and over and over again, instead of, you know, having just a couple of days where you hit that maybe twice a week, maybe even once a week for an advanced lifter, and then having more isolation work for individual body parts as you would with a bodybuilding program. Alright guys, so that is it for my review of the starting strength program. To recap, what we covered today was the advantages of starting strength. It is very simple. You're only hitting 4 exercises every week. It provides you a pretty high level of frequency so that you can progress very rapidly in this. And because you're only focusing on 4 exercises, it allows you more time to perfect your technique doing them. It's also focusing on compound movements. You're not doing a bunch of different isolation exercises and Bosu ball exercises. It's focusing on the meat and potato exercises that are going to give you the most bang for your buck, especially as a beginning lifter. And the last benefit of starting strength is that it is time efficient. Due to the low amount of or variety of exercises that you're doing and the low volume that you're doing, you can get in and get out and progress very quickly in your strength in those movements, because you're only focusing on just a handful of movements. All right, so to recap, what were the downsides? The downside is, for that very reason that it is low in volume, it's not optimal for hypertrophy. And I talked about how the ideal sequence of progression for a beginning lifter would be develop that base of movement technique and metabolic efficiency through high volume training, doing higher reps, lower load and stuff, and then progressing into basic bodybuilding, powerlifting, so on and so forth, as we do inside of Hybrid Strength 101, my 16-week program designed to help men over 40 gain 5 to 10 pounds of lean muscle, shed 20 pounds of body fat, and increase their strength, flexibility, and agility. So if you're interested in learning more about that, you can reach out to me at my email that is in the bio section or in the description of this video. And then moving on from that, the next detractor for the starting strength program would actually be that it has a lot of frequency for those compound movements, which, as a beginner, because you're not moving a lot of weight, yeah, you might be able to get away with that, but it still is a lot of wear and tear. So if you are an older guy, perhaps doing squats 3 days a week isn't the best idea. At least not trying to progress the squat 3 days a week. If you did squat 3 days a week, but you had one day where you did, you know, very high reps, another one where you did moderate reps, and then another day where you did heavy powerlifting style training, but trying to do 3 sets of 5 reps and trying to increase the weight every single session might be a little bit hard on your joints and just on your nervous system in general. The other downside was that it's not going to be good for a guy who's looking to lose body fat as well. If you're trying to lose body fat, you want to be doing more or less of a full body workout routine with a slightly higher level of volume, and then also make sure that you are eating appropriately for that goal. And the last downside of starting strength, because the name of my business is functional aesthetics, which, as I've said before, it's not simply just because of functional exercise. It is about being able to achieve your goals within the context of your life, within the restraints of both your time, your environment, and your resources, and finding innovative ways to get there. With that being said, I do believe in maintaining functionality first and foremost, right? Function first, and then aesthetics second. So that's one of the downsides of the starting strength program, is that all the movements are done in the sagittal plane. It's all front and back like this. So it's good that you have a balance of pushing and pulling, but it is all just in this movement plane. You don't have any side-to-side movements, you don't have any rotational movements or anything like that, which is going to make you a better athlete and just a better able to function both inside and outside the gym. All right, guys, so that's all I have for you today. Overall, Starting Strength is a great beginner strength program. If strength training is if becoming a powerlifter is your primary goal, or if you are trying to get stronger for a sport and you need a very efficient program to do that, then Starting Strength is a great way to begin. However, if you have the goals of trying to become a little bit more aesthetic, shed body fat, if you have never lifted weights before, Starting Strength might be a little bit too high of intensity and too low of volume for you, and I do recommend that you start with a full body workout program. But otherwise, Starting Strength, those benefits that I said before, I do appreciate that it is all focused on the compound movements, that you have very low variety initially, so you can really become very good at doing those movements, and the rate of progression is pretty rapid for people who are motivated by seeing rapid progress in the gym. So those are some of the pluses of that of the program. So if you liked the video, if you got some value out of this, if it helped you inform your decision on where to start your strength training journey, go ahead and hit the like button. And if you'd like to see more content, as I said before, related to program design for building muscle, athletic performance, nutrition for shedding fat, building muscle, athletic performance, and then how to avoid getting injuries when you're in the gym, and if you do get them, how to work around them, then this is the channel for you. Go ahead and hit the button in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, and we'll see you all next time for more health and fitness information.